Hello, namaste, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Good for Us. And today we're going to discuss a wonderful limited over series between England and India, where England have lost both of them. And to join me to discuss about this brilliant white ball series is a person who supports England, Aaron, the cricket connoisseur. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good to be honest, Asjad. For those who don't know, here in the UK we have finals day on Saturday the 16th of July. I was there for that to watch an extraordinary final between the Hampshire Hawks and the Lancashire Lightning. Hampshire ultimately ending up victorious by just one run. There was loads of carnage and controversy at the end as well. It was a fantastic day, to be honest. But then, of course, putting the England supporters cap on today, yeah, a little bit different. Obviously, very disappointing. England's ODI side have been dominant for about the last 3-4 years now, and in this series, yeah, it does seem to have displayed some vulnerabilities in a seemingly impenetrable English batting lineup, but a fantastic series to say the least. I know we're going to talk about Rishabh Pant and Jasprit Bumrah as the show goes on, but a great advert for both ODI and T20 cricket. And I must say, congratulations to India as well. I am disappointed as an England fan. As I said, they have been the crown in the jewel of English cricket for the past few years, but thoroughly deserving that India won this series. And yeah, they've had a good tour, haven't they? 2-2 in the tests, 2-1 in the two limited over series as well. Can't really complain with that from an Indian perspective.
Yeah, and they had the luxury of using different types of players as well. They didn't go into every single match with their best best side on the field. So it was good to see India actually experimenting in a way. But with England, you mentioned something. England have been al- almost unbeatable over the past few years, especially be it ODI cricket or T20 cricket, especially at home. Right? I remember, was it last year? Pakistan toured England, played against a C grade England team,
Hmm.
for lack of a better term, and got absolutely obliterated. So I expected something like that in this series. However, India came out like absolute bosses. So I know you mentioned Rishabh Pant and Jasprit Bumrah, but I want to talk about one particular player, Hardik Pandya.
Oh,
The
yeah.
way, all right, a couple of years ago when he got his injury and he was coming back, he wasn't bowling that much. And you mentioned a lot of other people did, but specifically remember you saying once Hardik Pandya is fully fit and he's bowling or can bowl 10 overs in an ODI game, India will look a different side. India looks a different
Mm-hmm.
side. Took 4 wickets today. He took 3 wickets a couple of days. I don't know exactly how many wickets or which combination he got, but he was sensational with the ball. And then with that 71 or 55 today, India were three down very, very, very quickly, right? Rishabh Pant coming in at four, and Hardik Pandya coming in actually in number six. But Surya Kumar Yadav stayed for a while. He left. But that partnership between Pant and Pandya, just exhilarating, right? Absolutely brilliant cricket to watch. And you could say that Rishabh Pant actually took his time today. So therefore, Hardik Pandya thought I'm just going to be aggressive as anything, right? He was playing the best cricket I've seen him play, all round cricket to be exact. So yeah, Hardik Pandya. Any words for this? I'm not going to say he's the best all rounder in the world, but he's definitely in the conversation, especially with the white ball, if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Yeah, he is indeed. I'd say top four is definitely arguable, if not top three. But then again, there are some fantastic all-rounders in world cricket right now. Ben Stokes, his teammate Jadeja, and Jason Holder as well, to name but a few. But a fully fit and firing Hardik Pandya is the definition of a three-dimensional cricketer. And that's what I mentioned when it came to his importance, just how pivotal of a player he is in that Indian side. Look how much more balanced they look like with that extra bowling option. And of course, his batting as well. And just to touch upon that partnership with Pant and Pandya, I actually thought, I was doing the commentary for it actually on the radio today. I thought that Pandya looked the better of the two at the crease
Yeah.
during that partnership. He never looked flustered. He always looked in control at the crease. He was incredibly measured, assured, calm. He looked like he wanted to guide India home to that victory today. And essentially, he did. Of course, Pant will take the accolades. It was a fantastic ton, to say the very least. But I thought Pandya in particular, with the ball, he was ice cool. And then at the crease, he was commanding. This was a fantastic representation of why Hardik Pandya is such a sought after cricketer. He is amazing when he's in this vein of form. And for India to have him available, not just as the batsman anymore, But Hardik Pandya, the all-rounder, yeah, they've got to fancy their chances in that 2023 World Cup on home soil.
Yeah, and we just mentioned Hardik Pandya firing on all cylinders. Gujarat Titans, IPL
Yeah.
winning captain, right?
Hmm.
I think that just lit a fire under. It was like, I'm just going to show everyone how good I actually am, because people, myself, had started to think maybe he's not as much of a bowler anymore, etc., etc. He's just proven me wrong, and it's great to see myself being proven wrong by players with the quality of Hardik Pandya. Um, Let me just transfer our energy on to England for a little while. That top order, that absolutely dangerous killer top order. What happened this series?
Honestly, as Jazz, I wish I had an answer, to be honest. I really don't. The top three, to be brutally honest, had a bit of a shocker. I know Jason Roy scored 41 today, but other than that, even in the T20s, I don't know what's happening with Jason Roy at the moment, but something isn't right. He doesn't look in rhythm. We talk about players like Hardik Pandya, who, when they're in rhythm, when they have confidence, they command the game, let alone the crease. Jason Roy is in that mould, he's in that archetype of cricketer. And in this series, he never really put the pressure back on to the Indian bowlers. I know he scored 12 off the first over today, but that was the first real time across the 6 matches where he really imposed himself on the match situation. So that's worrying for England. And Bairstow Root as well didn't really do a lot in this series, both out for 3-ball ducks in today's series decider. I'm not going to say it's concerning or worrying because it is only one series. And you've got to remember that this is an England side with a brand new coach. We don't have Owen Morgan anymore. We are experimenting with bowlers. For example, we don't have the likes of Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, Jofra Archer, Ollie Stone, to name but a few. But this hasn't been a great series for England, and in particular for a side which has dominated world cricket with the bat in hand. The scores in this series were simply not good enough. In particular, the first ODI, that was a massive shock to the system, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At some point, genuinely, I thought they were going to get less than 86 runs, and it would have been the lowest English ODI score of all time. Luckily, that wasn't the case, but they still lost by 10 wickets. They got it back in great fashion at Lords, but then again today, 260 on that wicket. Yes, there was some inconsistent bounce, but England were the architects of their own downfall. Some really, really quite silly shots, in particular, given the game situation, and the middle overs as well, which is somewhere where England have dominated in the past with the likes of Root and Morgan rotating the strike, laying that foundation. England haven't been able to do that all series long. So I'm not going to come out here and be massively over exaggerating and saying, oh, they're finished and they've got no chance at the World Cup. But this is a learning curve for this England side. This is the first major roadblock, in my opinion, that this team have had. You've got a brand new captain in Joss Butler as well. This is not a great start. So the South Africa series, there's going to be a lot more pressure, a lot more emphasis on players like Butler, players like Roy, players like Bairstow and Root to perform with the bat in hand. But yeah, it's not ideal practice, is it? Let's be honest. For any of these guys, I say practice as though India aren't a tremendously good side anyway, and they were thoroughly deserving of this series victory. But it's not a great series to have when you've got not just this next series against South Africa, but you've got a very busy winter as well in preparation for that 50 over World Cup in India in 2023. So disappointing for England. If I was to point out some positives, though, Reece Topley has to be up there.
Whew.
6 for 24 at Lords, the best ever bowling figures by an English ODI bowler. That was outstanding. And in this series, he's finished as the leading wicket taker, 9 wickets, average of less than 10, and an economy rate of 3.7 as a seam bowler at the Oval, Lords and Old Trafford. That's remarkable. So Reece Topley's been excellent. And then in addition to that, obviously Topley's been great. But the other seam bowler who I would say actually did impress me today was Bryden Cars. I know in terms of the figures, not as good as Reece Topley in this series, but good pace. And the short ball at his disposal is really, really, it's eye-catching. That's how I describe it. It's very electrifying. It's very dynamic. It draws you in as a cricket fan. So, yeah, Bryden Cars is another one to watch out for. Played for the England Lions previously, now has ODI experience, played in that Pakistan series last year as well. Just watch out for him. He's a very, very interesting prospect indeed. But aside from the bowlers, with the bat in hand, not a series to remember, unfortunately, for the Three Lions and the Crown.
I I think I resonate with your feels. The only positive, if you could call it that, is Moeen Ali. That he was able to bat at 6 or 7, come and give you some runs. Again, it wasn't the innings that, as an England fan, when you've lost 5 down, when you're 5 down or 4 down, that you would want. It was more an innings like, oh, he's 30 of 25 or 30 of 45 when England were, let's say, 60 for 4 or something like that. But to me, he was by far the best English batsman in this in this entire series, and that's surprising to say about your number 7, right?
Hmm.
And even then, I'm still of the opinion Moeen Ali should bat higher up. Liam Livingston should be the finisher, etc., etc. But England don't want to go down that route. Fair enough, but you can see the consistency comparatively that Moeen Ali is able to get you a few runs pretty much every game. While yes, India's bowling has been really good. Jasprit Bumrah in that first match, 6 for 19. We already talked about it, but Jasprit Bumrah, an absolute beast, right? Mohammad Siraj this morning with 2 quick wickets of Bairstow and Root, both combined, who've scored over 2,000 runs over the past like few months, right? In Test cricket. So genuine beasts that Siraj was able to slay, for lack of a better term. And then Hardik Pandya, we've already talked about. But there's a player from the Indian side that I still haven't mentioned. You're going to love him. You know who I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about some guy who does this stuff, can do this
Okay,
stuff,
yes.
right? Who can just do a lot of things with his wrist spin, aka Yuzvendra Chahal. Dude, what happened to him in the past like year since being dropped by RCB? He's just decided I'm going to do really well everywhere he goes, especially for India, and he's looked like the Chahal of old. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny that often happens when players leave RCB. They suddenly become a
Yeah,
lot better.
yeah,
Case in point, Kara Hall and Quinton de Kock. Always happens. Always happens. It's a cursed franchise, and yeah, shouldn't have supported them. But other than the RCB slant, I suppose, on Chahal's run of form, he has been brilliant. I know the economy rate wasn't great today. I think he went at 6.3 runs and over,
yeah,
which
yeah.
in a game where 260 runs is scored isn't ideal, but he's an aggressive bowler. And when you've got someone like Jadeja at the other end who can just hold it up, apply pressure, go around about 4 to 5 runs and over on a good day,
Mhm.
it's good to have a bowler like that. It really is. It's a good dynamic to have in that squad, and in particular on turning wickets in the subcontinent. Chahal is a menace. He's a great option to have at India's disposal. He's got a great googly. He's got an excellent top spinner. He's worked on his leg spinner as well, which is another feather in the bow, I suppose you'd say. It's really impressive to see Chahal in this vein of form. He's bowling in rhythm again. He's got his confidence back. He's got his mojo. You can see this in the social media stuff. We are seeing the Yuzvendra Chahal of old. And to be honest, I couldn't be happier. Yes, it's against England, but I'm a cricket fan first and foremost. And obviously, with the RCB connection, I want to see Yuzi doing well. So delighted for him, delighted for India. And again, we talk about those key players for that World Cup. Yuzvendra Chahal is definitely going to be one of them.
Oh yeah, because if you remember last year, there were talks about, oh, Chahal should come back, and my words were, no, Chahal should never come back. He's done this and that, and how the tables turn within like 8 months, 9 months, because of the form he's in now. He needs to be utilized as much as possible, and India will definitely need him in the T20 World Cup and then the ODI World Cup next year as well. Um, Rishabh Pant, just quickly, because in our previous video, we talked about Surya Kumar Yadav and his fantastic 100 in the final T20I, where India were dominant in the first 2 games, and then India rested a few players. They lost the match, but Surya Kumar Yadav shone bright like a diamond in the sky, right? Rishabh Pant, I don't know. I'm just using some
All right,
analogy that
Rihanna, calm
popped.
down.
That's where I got it from. Thank you, Aaron. See, I didn't know you knew who Rihanna was because you're a very young lad. Um, but yeah, basically about Rishabh Pant, the way he constructed his innings today was, if you hear Ravi Shastri, he was talking about how Rishabh Pant would always think, oh, there's a fielder there. I want to try and go over him and get a 6 or get 4 runs. Today, he realized I can get about 25 runs just by singles and doubles because everyone expects me to do that, right? Which is something that players of the past, aka Shahid Afridi, really should have done in his career, but he didn't. And Rishabh Pant learned, how old is he? Like 24, 25?
24 years
24.
old.
24. This guy is 24 and he is a menace, right? He is genuinely the next big, well, he's already there, but if I were to think for the future, I'd say Rishabh Pant's right up there for India's best player, best batsman of all time. in the future, right? Okay, people don't kill me, right? Okay, just I think he will be because of the way he's developed as a player, the keeping skills, the improvements in that, the mentality, the approach, everything. But he actually started quite slow. That's what I alluded to earlier. He started off slow, and then when he realized, okay, I'm at like 40 or 50, I can't remember what score he was on, and then he started to go aggressive, start attacking even more and more and more. And then what was it? 20 runs of David Willie's over or something at the end? 40, the 42nd over, I believe it was, right? Four, 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 four. I was like, oh, he's gonna get 24. And then there was a really nice, I think it was a Yorker or something, and he missed it. I was like, oh, goodness me. But so yeah, Rishabh Pant, any words on this? I'm not gonna use this word very openly, but you could say the next little master. No, I'm not gonna say that. But Rishabh Pant, genuinely a star, man. He was brilliant today, wasn't he?
He was indeed, and I mentioned this on the commentary actually, and in fact I mentioned it earlier in the video. With that partnership with Hardik Pandya, I thought he looked quite rushed at the crease today. I don't think for the first 25, 30 balls of his innings, he looked that confident, and there was the missed stumping opportunity
Oh yeah, yeah,
from Joss Butler off the bowling of Moeen Ali, which should have been taken, and if it was, we could be sat here discussing something completely different. England could have won the series. Again, we talk about the barest of margins. That is a great example of what cricket is like at times. But Rishabh Pant, that was brilliant, wasn't it? What an innings, a marvellous display of power hitting and clean ball striking yet again from this little maestro. He is the pocket dynamo, isn't he? I've
yeah,
seen that term
yeah,
being utilised time and time again to describe Rishabh Pant, and there are questions about his limited overs capabilities in
yeah.
comparison to Test cricket, because obviously the fields are different, the bowling plans are different as well. But today was really impressive.
Hmm.
It did require that catalyst, that second chance, that
Yeah,
missed stumping in order to kick him into gear. But as soon as he's into rhythm, as soon as he is in full flow, he's one of the best players to watch on the planet, isn't he? And
yeah,
not to sound too cliche, but a player like Rishabh Pant is someone you pay your ticket admission to go and see
yeah, yeah,
because he's box office. And to say some of the shots in particular, what I love about Rishabh, not only is it the innovation, not only is it the enterprise and the shot selection and the ability to pick out each and every single corner of the cricket field, he's also very strong on the offside. And
yeah,
I love that because for left-handers, it looks incredibly aesthetically pleasing as a cricket fan. So Rishabh Pant, take a bow. It was a special knock from a special talent, 24 years old. In 10 years' time, in 2032, a very scary prospect indeed to be talking that far into the future. But he could be the guy, couldn't he, for India?
yeah.
His ceiling is immense. His potential is enormous. We could be entering the era of Rishabh Pant at some point in the future. I'm not saying that's right now.
Hmm.
He's still only 24. We have to be realistic with our expectations. But in Test cricket, ODIs and T20s, box office with a capital B.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. We mentioned, by the way, we mentioned about England's batting issues in this series. Joss Butler being the new captain, getting that extra bit of responsibility. Do you see the way he's played being a little more within himself rather than being as aggressive as he was even when he was a stand-in captain for England? When Morgan was the real captain, he'd still play his way. But in this series, be it the T20, be it the ODIs, he just looked a bit apprehensive while he was batting. Just as a follow-up to that, Virat Kohli and his career, right? So let's talk about Joss Butler first.
Right. I was going to say two massive cricketers to talk about in the
Yeah.
space of the next 5-10 minutes. But in terms of Joss Butler, it's too early. I said this in the T20 wrap up. It's one series. Let's not, let's not go overboard. OTT, as we say in the UK, over the top. It's far too early. Yes, you can argue there was some apprehension. I don't think he looked in great rhythm and confidence, but again, it's his first proper, ODI tour, ODI series that he is the captain. So I don't think we can look too far into it. He did score a 50 today as well. So
Yeah.
again,
There
that just
must be
shows the standards that we hold Joss Butler to.
Yeah. I was just gonna sorry to interrupt. I was just gonna say there must be some sort of responsibility factor that's been put on him now that wasn't there when he was just a standing captain. That's what I'm trying to get at. That he is on purpose probably taking his time a lot longer because he's like, I'm gonna try and take it through the long haul. That's what I was trying to get to.
Oh, 100%. And you've got to think of who he's replacing.
Oh
You're
yeah.
replacing Owen Morgan.
Mm,
He's the greatest English white ball captain of all time. You can't you can't come in straight away and go, look here, I'm going to replicate Morgan's success and I'm just as good a captain. That isn't how cricket works. It'd be fantastic if it did for us as England fans and he came out here and smashed 100 after 100 after 100. But this is a brand new role for Joss Butler. It's one thing to be a vice captain, one thing to be a standing captain. It's another thing to be the captain of the number one side in world cricket, which has
yeah.
dominated this format for the past 4 or 5 years. So let's again just be realistic. Let's hold our horses. It's one series against a top quality Indian bowling attack. Just calm down. Let's settle. Allow Matthew Mott and Joss Butler to come up with their own ideas, own philosophies. And if by the end of I suppose the T20 World Cup and the 50 over World Cup, we're still struggling, then you can review. But for the time being, we need to back them. They need time. They need to create that philosophy, that brand of cricket, which is something which England have excelled in across
Mhm.
both formats in recent years. And yeah, let's just hope for English fans' sake that that does happen because along with Bazball, we could be in for a decent little era of English cricket if these two philosophies and mentalities combine, shall we say.
Yeah, I do not doubt that whatsoever because, as we discussed previously, Brendan McCullum could be the white ball coach too, sooner rather than
Potentially.
later. Potentially, yeah, it could be. That's so that wouldn't be a bad shout. And yeah, Virat Kohli. I don't want to go into the question too long. I want your answer, which is why I said Virat Kohli and his career continue. So Virat Kohli and his lack of form. It has been over 2.5 years since he scored 100 in international cricket or any cricket, to be honest. Right? It has been a while since he's consistently scored 30 plus runs in every single game. Another point I just want to raise, Virat Kohli looks great while he's at the crease. He just gets out. And when he gets out, it's like if this was 3 years ago, that would have gone for four, or he would have hit the gap, or this delivery would have left, etc., etc. I think even today, it's that corridor of uncertainty. I haven't used that term in years. Corridor of uncertainty, which keeps getting him. So, what do you think is in the future of Virat Kohli? Because when Rohit Sharma was asked indirectly this exact question, his answer was, "Well, it's too early. Like, there's no point trying to discuss this because he's not going to go into any detail at the moment or anything like that." But what do you think? Do you believe, because there's quite a few Indian fans that I've spoken to who've mentioned maybe Virat Kohli needs to be rested from the white ball side for a little while, let him go play domestic cricket or whatever, and let's see if he gets back into form. What are your thoughts on Virat Kohli in general at this very moment?
Well, it's incredibly tough to see. I
Mm.
take absolutely no pleasure in this at all because, as many people know with the RCB connection, I've been watching Virat since 2008. So I've literally seen him develop from that all rounder who batted at number six, while those medium pacers got absolutely obliterated by Albie Morkel in the 2011 IPL. I've seen him from those days develop into the world's greatest cricketer. And to see him not being able to convert even many 50s, let
Yeah,
alone centuries, it's gut wrenching, to be honest. Because Virat, when he is in top form, I would say is the greatest cricketer on planet Earth. There's no one who makes the game look as visually appealing as Virat Kohli. In my opinion, and again, this is just my view, he needs a break. Not
yeah,
just from India, he just needs a break from cricket because it's the same dismissal again and again and again. Twice in this series, he's been pushing with hard hands outside off against the left arm seam of Reece Topley. We've seen this in Test cricket, we've seen it in T20 cricket, we've seen it in the IPL, we've seen it in ODI cricket as well. It's the exact same dismissal, which is happening again and again and again. Now, for normal cricketers, you would say drop them from the team, let them work on their technique. That's different for a cricketer, let's say in England, for example, where you've got the county circuit and there isn't all of this fanfare, there isn't all of this media hype surrounding these players.
yeah,
When you are Virat Kohli, and in the space of the past 3 years, you have gone from being the best cricketer on the planet to suddenly struggling for any sort of form across formats, it's a different beast. He can't just go back to the Ranji Trophy cricket and expect everything to be normal. It won't be. The media will absolutely hound him until he's back in India contention. So I think he needs a break from cricket. I really do. I know that India and that Indian coaching setup won't say it, but I think for Virat's sake at this moment in time, He needs a break. He needs to just recharge the batteries, work on that technique, which is a staggering thing to me to say, considering I average like 9 with the bats. I'm not a patch on Virat Kohli. I'm really not, and I'd never even be tempted to offer the great man batting advice because I'm a mere mortal in comparison to him. But I think in terms of what's best for his career right now, even if it's just a month or two, take that break, recharge the batteries, come back, and fingers crossed for Virat Kohli, he does get that 71st ton. Because I've been waiting as well. I've been waiting patiently for that ever since that knock against Bangladesh at Eden Gardens in November 2019. It's been every single game I've been wanting him to get that next century, and that's massively plaguing him. Take a break, come back, fingers crossed he scores that 71st. And if he does, again, I guarantee he'll be back to scoring runs,
Yeah.
just as Joe Root was. Joe Root was struggling to convert centuries. Now look at him. He's scoring them every single game. So I back Virat Kohli, and that is literally from a position of he needs a break, and I back him to come back very strong, and always will do.
I the only thing I have to add on to what you said, because I totally agree with you, it's just the fact he doesn't play every white ball tour that India has. He doesn't play that many games as he used to, let's say, a few years ago. So isn't he getting some sort of break, or do you think that that's more of little rest here and there rather than a full 2 3 months off? Is that the reason why you're saying he gets an elongated break, basically?
Essentially, yes. And I think that does have to include Test cricket as well, because that's
Yeah,
another part of the umbrella which people are criticising. But again, we'll have to wait and see. You can't drop Virat Kohli. But
of
then
course
again, that's a
not.
that's a problem, isn't it? Because at some point, no matter how brilliant someone's reputation is, and Virat's got one of the greatest reputations
Mhm.
in the history of cricket. He's one of the greatest to ever play the game. At some point, maybe it's up to him. Just as he did with RCB, he stepped away from the captaincy. He stepped
Yeah.
away from the India captaincy. At one point, for his sake, I think he will have to make the decision. And of course, I'll back him 100%, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, just last point, just a stat that I read today. Between 2018 and 2020, his ODI average was around 80. And from 2020 to now, his ODI average is around 36. And a 36
Hmm.
average for a middle order batsman in Asia is considered pretty good, just saying. But because we hold him to such a high standard, having a 36 average is like him having a 10 average, which is why we talk about this as such a big deal, because he's absolute class. And as he said, when he is in touch or when he's on his prime, he is the best player in the world. There's no arguments there for sure. Right, brilliant, awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Just a final question. Kamal moment of the series, both ODI and T20 combined, or you can separate it out. That's entirely up to you. But yeah, Kamal moment or moments of the series for you.
I'm going to go a little bit left field, I think, because a lot of people would say Rishabh Pant century, and that was outstanding. But I mentioned it on the previous show. Jasprit Bumrah's 144 kilometres an hour Yorker to Bryden Cast in the first ODI. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that'll be my Kamalka moment. Rishabh Pant, purely for today. And then bowler Reece Topley, which I'm
Yeah.
very happy to say because Reece has worked so hard. He's had so many injury difficulties as well in recent years. He's worked so hard to get back into England contention. And this
Hmm.
series will be a massive help in terms of boosting his platform in
Hmm.
that white ball squad heading into the immediate future. So Rishabh Pant, Reece Topley, Kamalka moment, Bumrah's Yorker. Yeah, and congratulations once more to India. A very fruitful tour for the men in blue.
Thank you, Aaron. As always, I was going to talk about South Africa and Babar's 100, but I think we've talked enough about India, England, and this video should be dedicated to the brilliance that was India in this particular series. Even though England had some standouts, but India definitely deserved the white ball series, ODI and T20. Thank you, Aaron. As always, really appreciate it. For everyone watching, please do like, share, and subscribe. Do check out the Cricket Connoisseur on every single platform in the entire universe. He does commentary, he does reviews, he does everything. He does county. He was at the T20 Blast Finals. He saw brilliance, right? And he would
Sure
love
did.
to talk to, yeah, he would love to talk to anyone about it as well. I love it. Thank you very much. Until next time, take care.